Can you hear
so
me?
you'll be looking at nothing. It's
All right. So yes, great. Thank you. Welcome everyone. So today's presentation is Empowering ELT Educators Through Professional Associations Management from Christine Coombe. A little bit about Christine. Christine has a PhD in foreign second language education from the Ohio State University. She's currently an associate professor of general studies at Dubai Men's College. Christine is a co-author, editor of numerous volumes of assessment, leadership, TBLT, research and teacher evaluation and effectiveness. Her most recent book is The Role of Language Teacher Associations in Professional Development, 2018 by Springer. Christine has lived and worked in the Gulf region for the past 20 years. In this capacity, she has served as the president and conference chair of one of the largest TESOL affiliates in the world, and is the founder and co-chair of 2 of its SIGs. Christine served as the TESOL president from 2011 to 2012, and she was a member of the TESOL board of directors from 2010 to 2013. Her most recent honors were being named to TESOL 50 at 50, which recognizes professionals who have made significant contributions to the TESOL profession within the past 50 years. Dr. Christine, in 2018, was the recipient of the James E. Elatus Award, which recognizes exemplary service to TESOL. Christine, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes, Kristen.
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
Yes, we can.
bear with me, everyone. I need to get it on the slideshow. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. It's about 10 p.m. this evening for me here in Dubai, and I'm happy to be here to speak with you and share some of my perspectives and experiences on how I feel professional associations can empower ELT educators and the development opportunities that exist through the many opportunities that are available. Now, a disclaimer before I begin, and one disclaimer is that I'm assuming I've got how many? Over 20 people here with me this evening, and I'm assuming that you're here because you're interested in this topic, or you're associated with the ANPC in some way, you're an affiliate leader yourself, or you are thinking about getting involved more in association leadership. So based on those assumptions, I need to also issue a disclaimer that my involvement in the leadership of TESOL International Association ended in 2013. So I may not be up to date on all the latest developments within our association, but I think I've seen a couple of people who are currently board members. Deborah Healy, I think, is there, as well as Joe McVeigh. So if I say something that has changed or is no longer current, I'm hoping you'll just put in a comment in the chat and correct me. So let's get started. What are we going to talk about in the brief time we have together this evening? Well, I'd first like to share what I feel are some of the characteristics of an effective professional association. And I'd like to specifically point out the importance of the leadership of a professional association. And then I'm going to share what I feel are the major ways a professional association can have an impact on you, either in a personal or professional way as an ELT educator. And then I'm going to share a little bit about my own professional journey with professional associations, namely TESOL Arabia, my home affiliate, as well as TESOL International, where most of my experience has been with, and to a lesser extent with IATEFL. Then hopefully we're going to have some time for questions and comments, and you can send in any questions or comments you might have. So let's get started with the first topic, and that's what I consider to be the characteristics of an effective professional association. Now, a challenge in looking at in combining my own feelings or opinions about effective professional associations, as well as looking at a little bit of the literature on not only professional associations, but organizations as well. A big challenge for me was limiting myself to just one slide. So I've tried to the best of my ability to come up with what I consider to be the must-haves of a professional association. And although these characteristics are not in any specific order, I think the first one on the list for me is perhaps the most important, because if an association does not have a compelling list or a compelling sense of mission, then it really is not going to be an effective association. So top of my list is an effective professional association has a sense of mission. It also has alignment between all aspects of the association. And by that, I mean the people in the association, the systems are in place, the various structures and entities within the association, and the processes as well. Also, having a strong focus on members and member benefits is an important characteristic, because a good association will have member benefits or will offer something to everybody, all members and all stakeholders with the association. In terms of the leadership itself, I feel that the most effective professional associations have a strong leadership, a leadership that is diverse, and I mean at all levels of leadership, not just the top leadership. And very important for me is having a leadership that is rotational, meaning that there are limits on the terms that leaders can have, and elections take place to make sure there is a rotation or a turnover in the leadership. I feel also that communication is very important, and for an association to be effective, there has to be open and transparent communication and communication structures. I feel also that keeping up to date with technological and 21st century developments and advancements is crucial for keeping pace with, the future, and certainly for communicating with members. Regular evaluation of not only the association, but its structure and its various entities is also critically important. And finally, I think an effective professional association is one that has a high trust culture where its members are seen to be its most valuable asset. So what I'm going to do for the next few minutes is go through each of these characteristics and offer a bit of commentary on each. And if you have a question or would like a comment, I've got the chair of the ANPC here with me, who is going to be keeping track of your questions in case I happen to miss some of them. So let's get started, and let's first talk about the mission. So for me, a very important characteristic of an effective professional association is that it has a compelling sense of a mission, and this mission is shared by all its members and understood by all. I share with you on this slide TESOL's mission, which I hope is readily available. If it isn't, I've provided you the link so you can always refer to it. Of course, our mission is to advance the expertise of professionals who teach English to speakers of other languages in multilingual contexts worldwide. And this is accomplished through professional learning, research, standards, and advocacy. So very important for me to be considered an effective professional association is to have a very clear, compelling sense of mission, shared and understood by all of its members. Next on my list is the alignment of all aspects of the association. I feel it's very important that there are systems in place, structures, processes in place in order to streamline the work that we do as an association. And this routinization of our processes allows us to have a big picture view and to engage in more blue sky thinking of where we can go, rather than always being mired in the minutia of association business. Another important characteristic is that these processes are often developed through collaboration. It's not just top down, saying with other people telling us what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. It is collaborative across the various entities within the association and agreed upon by all. And finally, in regards to this point, I think it's important that all aspects of our association, the people, the systems, the structures, and the processes go through a regular review and evaluation. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Next up, and perhaps most important for our members, is that our associations need to have a strong focus on our members and offer them a range of member benefits. Now, I noticed that a lot of you are involved in some way or another with the association, so my apologies if I'm telling you something that you already know, but I think it's real important that we are continually reminded of all the member benefits that the TESOL International Association offers to us. So one of the things that TESOL offers us is the opportunity to attend events and learn. I draw you to the attention of the many virtual seminars. This, of course, is a good example, being one of them, and these virtual seminars are, of course, free to members. Other events that you can attend and learn include online courses of various topic areas or subject matter, symposia and regional conferences that take place out in different countries, usually outside the US, a number of certificate programs, and of course, everybody's favorite conference, the annual TESOL International Convention and English Language Expo. Now, all of these events, with the exception of the virtual seminars, which are free, all of these other events have discounted rates for members. Another advantage to professional association membership is that it will help us stay current and get published. And here on this slide, you'll see a list of some of the publications that TESOL offers to its members and the readership, as well as publication opportunities. And what I particularly like about all of these examples is that they all are different types of publications, and some of them are geared for different types of members. We've got TESOL Connections, which focuses on shorter, more informational articles. TESOL Journal, which is research-based, but with more of a practical element. TESOL Quarterly, or TQ as some of us like to call it, which I'm proud to say is one of the top tier journals in our profession. The English Language Bulletin, which offers more news types of articles and more informational articles. The blog for our members to discuss certain important topics within the profession. And for those of us who are interested in looking at teaching materials or tests or things like that, we've got the TESOL Resource Center. And all of these publications offer us the opportunity to read up and stay current with the profession, but to also share our expertise in the form of articles, etc., book reviews, etc. So staying current and getting published is another important way that our professional association can help us develop. Helping us connect and collaborate is yet another way that TESOL International helps us. The My TESOL platform is a good way, and the I think daily or weekly digest that we receive are often a welcome respite from the day when we can catch up on what's been going on in our community. The larger communities of practice are another platform that we can utilize to help us connect and collaborate with colleagues near and far. Yet another advantage of our professional association is the opportunities that we get to advocate for our students and for the field in general. TESOL International has a number of different position statements, policy briefs, and white papers that we have access to through our membership. And then there's the event that I have always wanted to attend, hopefully I will still get to one day, that Advocacy Summit, which at least back when I was involved with the association at a leadership level, usually took place in May or June. And it was a weekend event where members of the leadership of TESOL could go and attend and actually try to affect change within Congress, on the Hill. Another advantage to association leadership is that it provides us with some recognition and even funding for our professional work. And we can do this in the form of grants. At last count, there were, I believe, over 20 awards that one could apply for. And there are a number of grants, both research grants and grants for other types of work and scholarships that are available. So receiving recognition for both excellence in the profession and service is yet another characteristic of an effective professional association. And finally, getting involved and actually going into the leadership is, I think, the culminating characteristic of an effective association. There are leadership opportunities that exist for all levels of the association. And hopefully, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to offer you some advice if you want to become involved with TESOL International or your local TESOL affiliate, or move up in the leadership of the association. The leadership of an association is of critical importance. So having a leadership that is strong and diverse is very important. And having leadership that rotates is, I think, even more important at all levels. I personally feel that leadership has to be representative of the membership. Now, this next point might be controversial because I feel that leadership must also be diverse, meaning there should be lots of different types of people involved in the leadership, different generational cohorts or age groups, even though the membership may not be that diverse. But I feel all generational cohorts, age groups need to be represented. I'll give you an example of an experience that I had when I was TESOL president. And one of the wonderful things that happens when you're a TESOL president or when you serve on the board is that a lot of the TESOL affiliates invite you to give plenary speeches at their conferences. And one of the treats that we often get to do when we're there is attend their board meetings that often take place at the conference. And I remember going to a TESOL convention and attending the board, and there were, at the conference, I was surprised at how young the members were. In fact, I thought that many of them had to be students because they were in their early 20s. There was a very young membership, but when I walked into the board meeting, I found that, you know, I don't have anything against old people. I'm old myself, but the board, I think the average age must have been the early 70s. And I was very, very taken aback by the difference of age representation within this board. So I think that it's important to have people who've got a lot of historical perspective on the association, and that would be most probably the older members of the board, but we need to make room and make make a place for members that are new to the profession as well. So the importance of having all age groups or generational cohorts represented on the board is, for me, a critical characteristic of an effective professional association. And one of the other phenomenon that I witnessed in my travels as TESOL president was there were a number of phenomenons, and this was not one or two affiliates. There were lots of affiliates who had either the president for life phenomenon, where there was someone who just would not relinquish control, and because there were no bylaws written into the standing rules or to the association's bylaws, no term limits, this was allowed to go on. So presidents who had been in place for 10 or 15 years. Or another more common phenomenon was there was a certain group of people who basically rotated themselves around the various positions, like, okay, you'll be president this year, then you'll do conference chair, then you'll move to secretary, etc. So having a leadership that rotates, and of course, the ideal way to do that is through election by the membership. So now, having said all this, this doesn't mean that we need to recognize the advantages of having leaders of all experience levels on a given board. But we have to have some kind of representation and some type of rotation of leadership to have a truly effective professional association.
And go now.
Give me a break.
You're a great artist.
Okay, I'm hearing some. Yes, if everybody could mute their speakers, and then when you have a question, maybe you can turn them on. So let's move on to communication. I think when you're talking about any type of organization, whether it be professional or commercial, communication is going to be in there in the list of top 10. So in terms of communication within a professional association, we need to be open with our members and transparent. And we need to have effective ways that we can communicate and effective communication structures. So I want you to think a little bit about how your local affiliate communicates with you. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the TESOL affiliate that I have the most experience with, 20 plus years or so, and that's TESOL Arabia. Now, TESOL Arabia, we used various mechanisms for communicating with our members. And we remember in the early days of TESOL Arabia, we published our perspectives, which was our newsletter of sorts, which was our quarterly publication that got sent to members. And in that publication, we had feature articles, we had book reviews, we had a number of publications, but we also had a lot of association business, like reports of each of the chapters. We had reports from the special interest groups or SIGs. We had promotional material, like for the upcoming conferences or big events, etc. So we used a print-based Perspectives magazine that was sent to all members as a member benefit as one way. And in the later years, more recently, Perspectives magazine was an online publication that members had the choice of whether they would receive a print version or whether they could download it. We used email for all of our members as well, and we used the face-to-face meetings during our annual business meeting and our town hall meetings at the annual conference was a way that we could get association or organization business out to our members. Now, TESOL International uses pretty much the same kinds of mechanisms to reach its members. But I'd like to talk a little bit about one of the best things I think that I've ever seen an association do in order to keep its members abreast of all the association business is TESOL's annual report. Now, I've provided the link to the annual report of TESOL, which is a very, very interesting and accessible and very attractive publication that pretty much summarizes everything we've been doing as an association over the last year. So I encourage you, when you've got some time, to go and look at some of those. Now, those are printed and they are given to people who attend the annual business meeting at the convention, and maybe even the town hall meeting as well. So this is one member benefit that I feel is very successful in being in communicating the association's business and significant happenings of the association in a very open and transparent way. Keeping up to date with technology is critically important, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. And in my travels as TESOL president, I was still shocked to find that some conferences around the world still have their proposals, their presenters send in paper-based proposals for the convention. Now, hopefully this is changing a little bit or somewhat, but keeping to date with all the technological advances that we have is important. We must keep pace or we'll be left behind. So offering alternative events through technology is important, like the one we're doing now. I hope that this platform is successful, but I'm not seeing any complaints, for example, in the chat box, like I can't hear you, etc. So I remember the very first online presentations I did, there were lots of problems, but now with the more advanced platforms, everything seems to be going okay. And I find that this is a good way to reach lots of people around the world. Other events that have used technology to a great extent include the 2017 Summit of the TESOL profession. Now, even though that was a face-to-face event that took place in Athens in 2017, there were many of us who were not able to attend for whatever reason, but there was an online 1-month pre-conference event that took place. So even though I wasn't able to attend the Summit of the TESOL profession in Athens, I felt like I was there because there was a component of that event that I could be involved in. Another such event that I did offer a panel discussion at was the joint TESOL and IATEFL online conference. And I think that was in 2017 as well, or 2018. Another great event that used technology to great advantage. And then there's the various webinars that TESOL now offers. This one is, of course, for the ANPC, but I've done others through various interest sections and for other segments or entities of TESOL International. I think that 360-degree evaluation is important. So an effective professional association is one that will embrace regular evaluation of the association in general, of the association structure, and of the various entities of the association. One way that's done is through the strategic plan. One of the main duties of the board of directors of TESOL International is the drafting and working towards a strategic plan. So one of the most interesting experiences in board service, at least in my opinion, is the actual setting of the strategic plan. And that takes place at a face-to-face board meeting under the leadership of what is called the executive committee, or what was called the executive committee, which is the presidential line, the president-elect, the president, the past president, and the executive director of the association. Strategic plans, at least for when I was on the board, they ran on 3-year cycles. I hope that's still in place. The current plan went into effect on November 1st of 2018. So if it is a 3 years, I'm seeing Deborah has put in, it's 3 to 5 years now. Thank you, Deborah. So we are, at least with that in mind, we are at the pretty much at the beginning of the new strategic plan. And the board regularly evaluates the progress that we're making towards the outcomes that are put forward on the strategic plan. We also look at some of the structures within the association, but one of the main evaluation experiences that I went through during my presidential term was the governance review, which looked at the entire governance of the TESOL Association and all its entities and made recommendations, which the board later followed up on and took on board. The affiliates, which many of you are probably involved with, are evaluated on an annual basis through the filling out of a report and its submission. And we go through various activities at the affiliate leaders meetings at the convention that are designed to help us evaluate how effective we are as an affiliate. And finally, an effective professional association has a high trust culture where members are viewed as being the most valuable asset of all. And this is, I believe, evident in not only our mission, but our vision statement, where TESOL wants to be viewed as the trusted global authority for knowledge and expertise in English language teaching. So these, I feel, are the most, well, at least are my defined characteristics of what I consider an effective professional association. So in this next part, I'd like to have a look at some areas where belonging to or being involved in a professional association can have an impact on you as an English language teacher. So probably first and foremost, involvement in TESOL or your local TESOL affiliate will help you either improve or increase your skills in virtually all aspects of your career or your job. Another important way that this can have an impact on you is it can provide you with a number of professional connections, people that you can network with, and this would be both online and face-to-face if you attend events, and generally a support system for things that you need. And technology has opened up lots of different avenues for us to use our professional association contacts and network to help us with virtually anything. TESOL can also help you find a job or a better job or a different job, or open up other career opportunities for you if you are so inclined to change positions. Taking a position abroad, going back to your own, if you're already based abroad, going back to your home country to teach, TESOL can help you find a good job. Keeping abreast of new developments in the field is an important part of lifelong learning. And as teachers, one of the reasons we become teachers is because we like learning. But if you're like me and you received your graduate education quite a few years ago, one of the most valuable things about membership to a professional association, at least for me, is being able to keep abreast of all the new developments in the field and to update my information about various aspects of my field. For those of you who are knowledge, what are known in the literature as knowledge consumers, membership to TESOL or a local affiliate can help move you from being a knowledge consumer to a knowledge producer. Like if you're, for example, if you always go to conferences and just attend, maybe you're going to want to make that next step to going from an attendee simply to a presenter. And also moving up to the next level in your career is something a professional association can also help you with. It can help you if you're interested in going into publishing your work. I already talked about the many different publications and different journal types that you have access to as a member of TESOL. TESOL also helps set the research agenda for the profession. And on the website as well, you can probably find the latest 2 TESOL research agendas. And finally, if your next step is going into the leadership of the association at some level, it can also help you move into the next level of your career. Now, I'm sure that on this slide, I'm sure that there are many other ways that the association can have an impact on you. And I'm hoping we should have a few minutes for some questions and comments. So if there have been any that I've forgotten, I'm hoping you'll remind me in the chat box. So now I'd like to switch a little bit to my TESOL leadership journey. And for me, I first served as an association, or in an association, as an executive secretary of TESOL Arabia way back in 1993. How did I become involved? Well, one of the members of the board at that time basically said to me, oh, maybe you should volunteer for a position with the association. And back in those days, I'm sad to say that not many people ran for election in the early days, at least of TESOL Arabia. So I ran unopposed and luckily won because I was unopposed. And that was my first experience with service to an association. Then, as you all know, one of our duties or responsibilities as an association or as an affiliate of TESOL is to attend, at least back in those days, it was every 2 years, we needed to attend the affiliate leaders meeting at the annual convention. So I got nominated to go to the affiliate leaders meeting in Chicago way back in 1996. And I still remember how interesting that meeting was. And my journey into TESOL International began at that early meeting. And it's through being noticed by somebody in that meeting. And I was noticed by one of the board members. Her name was Amy Schlesman, and she's a past president of TESOL. And she pulled me aside at the break, and she said to me, Christine, I think that you might be it might be a good idea for you and your career and for TESOL for you to try to become more involved in TESOL. And she invited me to attend the annual business meeting later on that day at the conference. So I went, and I still remember sitting in that meeting and feeling so proud that I was one of the members that helped make the quorum at that meeting. And it was so exciting because unlike lots of annual business meetings, at that meeting, there was something to actually vote on. So I really felt like I was shaping policy for my association. And I remember looking at the dais in the front of the room, and I can't for the life of me remember who the president was at that time, but I think it might have been either Kathy Bailey or Denise Murray. But I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if a simple English teacher like myself would one day be of the caliber to serve in that position. So I thought, with that in the back of my mind, I went on to serve in various TESOL Arabia positions from 1993 to 2018, including a term as president and serving as a conference chair for eight years. And all of that time, then for TESOL International, I was advised that if I wanted to become involved at a higher level in TESOL, I needed to learn about the association, and the best way I could do that was to serve on committees. So I served on the Professional Development Committee and then the Awards Committee, and then I was elected into my first board position as the convention chair for the Tampa 2006 convention. Then, of course, my presidential election in 2010 and my subsequent 3-year term. Now, my ascent into the leadership of TESOL was very gradual, and it went along a clear pathway. And it was a pathway that I had been advised to take because there's a very steep learning curve involved with board service and an eventual presidency. And it was really important that I feel the milestones that my 20+ year journey with TESOL have been very significant and helped me a lot in my eventual service as president. So I'd like to share with you some of the important milestones for me. Well, I got my first acceptance for a big presentation and a PCI at TESOL. Now, we all know how difficult it is to have a TESOL presentation accepted. Back when I first started, I think you had about a 25% chance. I think now it's even, it might be in the teens, the percentage of acceptance lists. So having a big presentation at a TESOL convention was and still is a big deal for me. I also had my first internationally recognized published book called Assessment Practices with Nancy Hubley way back in 2003. I got my first top-tier journal article published in TQ in 2008. Then I got my first job overseas at the TESOL Seattle convention, and I can't remember what year that was. I think it was 1992. I was elected as conference chair for Tampa and then president in 2010. And as George already mentioned, thank you, George, in my introduction, I was named to TESOL's 50 at 50 list in 2017 and received the highest honor of my career, the James E. Elatus Award in 2018. So being recognized for service was an important part of my career. And when that happened to me, and I've talked to other people who have been given this award, and I remember saying in my acceptance speech at the Chicago conference that it was kind of surreal because I couldn't really believe why I was getting an award. And I felt that I should be the one giving TESOL an award because it had been responsible for some of the most important career milestones that I had ever experienced. So how have I benefited from membership to and involvement in a professional association? Well, some of the skills that I acquired included, and I think most importantly for me, was personal and professional strategic planning. Now, when I first thought that I might be of the caliber to be president of TESOL or to serve on its board, I had been professionally strategically planning for a number of years. And some of the things that I went through included, I thought about who do I want, what kind of person or what kind of professional do I want as the leader of my professional association. And once I had defined all those characteristics, I basically looked at myself, I critically evaluated myself and looked at what I had and what I didn't have. And one of the things I remember thinking was I didn't have any books, so I set about doing a book or two. And I didn't have a website, so I created a website. So, you know, it all worked. So in 2010, I got that great telephone call telling me I had won the election. And you know, I had spent so much time thinking about, like, am I the caliber of being TESOL president, that I didn't really think about what would happen if I actually won. So when I actually won the election, I thought, okay, what now? Well, one of the things I embarked on was I tried to learn as much as I can about the recognized leadership styles, not only in education, but in other professions in general, and leadership strategies that one might use. So that was a very positive thing that I learned. Now, most recently, through my involvement in local affiliates, I have learned a negative view of leadership. And I have learned that what kind of power toxic leadership can have on a once successful association. So although my focus is always on the positive leadership styles and having characteristics or trying to gain characteristics within those positive leadership styles, I have to recognize and be aware of, as you all should be, of the power that toxic leadership can have on a successful association. Now, another thing that I found that I really benefited was working with people from different ethnicities and different cultures and different ELT sites around the world. Most of my experience has either been in the US or has been in the Gulf. And although I have a lot of professional colleagues in Asia and South America and Central America, I didn't have a lot of experience networking with them until my service on the board as a board member and as TESOL president. A big learning curve for me was working from afar in different time zones. I was one of the first presidents to be elected from a different country. And I remember the first week or two, I've never received as much email in my life. I would routinely get 300 emails a day that were just TESOL related. So keeping up with the email avalanche was a huge thing. And I remember when I first, the first couple weeks, I would wake up in the middle of the night because my phone would be blasting and the emails would be popping in, and I'd read a few of them and then I'd answer a few. And then the next morning, one morning I woke up and saw the egregious typos in those emails, and I had to make a decision that I would only answer email when I was actually awake. So that was one of the things I learned very early on, that I couldn't be everything to everyone 24 hours a day. So learning how to work successfully from the central office, which is of course based in the US, from a different time zone, a different weekend, etc., was a skill that I acquired. Learning how to communicate through different modes of technology and attend meetings online was something that I learned and mastered. And acquiring conflict resolution skills was very important. As any conference chair can attest to, whether it be of your local TESOL conference or the TESOL convention, the day that the rejection letters go out for proposals was a day that I will never forget, because the convention chair's email is on that email. And I have never received so many negative, bordering on hate mail that I did during that day. So learning how to deal with people and deal with dramas and divas and that kind of thing was a skill that I acquired and improved on. Learning about the various policies with not only the TESOL International Association, but its various affiliates around the world and their governance structure was a very interesting part of my service to the board. One of the areas that I was very ill-equipped to handle was the finances of an association the size of TESOL. So I need to thank Jim Trope, the TESOL's Director of Finance, who I'm sure I bugged with continual questions, and he basically said, "Don't worry, no question is too basic or too stupid." And I thank him immensely for his help in helping me become financially literate and to keep the association in good stead financially during my term of service. I already considered myself a good time manager, but my work with TESOL affiliates, both far and wide, have really improved my time management. And when you do a big job like conference chair or TESOL president, before you run, you need to agree. I think board service, at least when I did it, you need to agree that you could spend between 10 to 20 hours a week on TESOL business. And for president, it was even more hours a week. So they're not kidding when they say you need to be able to free yourself up for 20, sometimes 30 hours a week. And that's in addition to your full-time job. And I was not one of the lucky ones where my institution gave me a decreased teaching load. I was on a full 20-hour-a-week teaching load through my whole time of service. And when you're the president, you travel virtually every weekend out of the year too. So for me, I don't think my time management was ever as good as between 2010 and 2013. Now, one of the pieces of advice that many previous board members gave me was delegation, that you will never survive unless you delegate. And I'm a teacher. I don't have an admin assistant or a secretary or a teaching assistant or even any family members that live with me that I can delegate to. So one of my big questions was, I'd love to delegate, but who do I delegate to? And that's when our amazing staff at the TESOL central office made themselves available to do many of the things that I thought I would have to be doing. And I got spoiled having so much support from so many amazing, competent people. So, and I wish I had someone to delegate to now, but I still remember those days fondly. Now, another thing I learned about myself is that I learned that I always knew that I was a hard worker. I had a good work ethic, but I really learned what I was capable of doing. And now, even today, when someone comes at me with a task and they say, well, this is going to be a lot of work, I often think back to my time on the board saying, don't worry, I was TESOL president, meaning I pretty much can do anything. And okay, it was only for a 3-year period, but it was an amazing time for me, one where I learned so much about the association, but I learned a lot about myself and what my capabilities were. So I hope that I have enticed you to become more involved in your association. And if I have, I've got some advice to offer you. I think the first thing that you need to do is critically evaluate your skill set. What are you good at? Do a SWOT analysis. What are you good at? What are your strengths? And build on those strengths. If, for example, you've had a lot of experience with the convention from your own local affiliate, maybe you want to, your entree into the board might be through the convention. Get more involved in that arena. If, for example, you've done a lot with the SIGs or the interest sections, maybe that might be your entree into TESOL. So critically evaluate your skill set and use your strengths to get more involved in that arena. Then decide on how much time you have available and how much time you have to contribute to the association, and decide what you're going to do based on those two characteristics. I really recommend that you start small and you build your experience and expertise from your local affiliate first. I am so thankful for my time on the TESOL Arabia Executive Council, where it was fairly low stakes at the beginning, but it was an opportunity for me to learn how to do things and to become and to master a lot of the skills I needed to have when I joined the TESOL International Association leadership. Now, you might think, where can I find information about getting more involved? Well, go to our website, look for any calls for participation, or attend any of the events. Ask around, ask the leadership. I know that some emails just went out for appointments for the next year's committees, and there was a call for participation. So belonging to the MyTESOL community and many of the e-lists that exist will get you information on openings. If you're lucky enough to attend the TESOL convention in Denver, and I hope to see many of you there, go to the town hall meeting. There's a face-to-face version of this at the annual convention, and I've been told that there's actually a virtual town hall meeting, but I don't know, I couldn't locate the dates and the times of that, but I'm sure information will be forthcoming on the website. Take advantage of all the free member activities like this one, like the many webinars and courses that are going to be made available, and don't expect for TESOL to tell you about everything. You need to be curious, you need to research your options, keep your eye out on different platforms to take advantage of all the benefits that you'll have and all the opportunities you'll be exposed to. I think it's critical to join the MyTESOL community and to network through the various communities and our communities of practice as well. And one of the things that, you know, I love is that as a TESOL leader, our TESOL board members and our presidential line, they're everywhere. In fact, I'll be seeing probably one or two of them at a conference I'll be attending next week. I think Deborah, if you're still there, I'll be seeing Deborah in Ankara, Turkey next week. And virtually every conference you go to, there's TESOL board member or presidential participation there. So talk with your TESOL leaders, interact with them, and they can give you lots of good advice and keep you abreast of all kinds of opportunities that you can if you want to engage more with your TESOL International Association or your local affiliate. So I'd like now to open it up. I think we only have a few minutes. Sorry about that, 5 to be exact, according to my clock. Any questions or comments that we have on anything I said?
Christine? Yeah, we had a question from, I think, Larissa and Karen. They were talking about what are some ways to attract younger volunteers to the leadership?
Interesting question. What are some ways to attract younger members to the association? Well, I think if you involve them if you collect information, I think one of the things that I did when I was chair of a SIG, the testing SIG, we wanted to set our own research agenda and strategic plan. So we personally invited contacts that could come and represent the different demographics of the association. So sometimes I think people just want to be asked. There only a few will probably take you up on that invitation, but I think just being asked and just having an older, more experienced TESOL leader like Amy Schlesman's singling me out at an affiliate leaders meeting way back in Chicago in 1996, that gave me the impetus to move forward. And I remembered that during my presidential year, how I got started. And if you talk to other TESOL leaders, they all have similar stories about how encouragement and showing an interest in people, a personal interest in people, got them to become more involved. I think another way to do it is to use more technological platforms for professional development, to offer more things like that, because I know millennials, for one reason or another, they prefer online types of training as well. So offering a variety of different professional development opportunities through a variety of different platforms could be ways to get younger people more involved. So my answer to that question, to recap, is invite them, show an interest, show that you want to learn from them, and provide more opportunities for them through ways that they like to professionally develop. Are there any other questions? I'm seeing all the thank yous, so thanks everybody for all the thank yous.
All right, if there are no other questions, with that, we must conclude today's online program. Today's presentation was titled Empowering ELT Educators Through Professional Associations Management. A special thanks to our presenter, Christine Coombe. The webinar will be available and the recording will be sent in the next few days. This concludes the program. You may now disconnect.